It's time for Making a Living with Maggie Mistel, one of the nation's best-known career coaches. Ready to soul search, research, and job search into your ideal career? Career Happy Hour starts now.
Hi, welcome to Making a Living with Maggie. Excited to be with you today as your career coach for this Career Happy Hour. And I'm going to share with you what I've been seeing, what I've been up to, but as it relates to career and support and helping you have the best career possible. And that fits into your life. So Bailey, it's about having the best life possible and a career that supports that. And that's really my philosophy, that you are here to do work you love. And if you're not in that space, it's absolutely possible. Anything is possible. And you can get to it. So you're going to hear a lot of optimism, but a lot of practical optimism, right? That you can implement, tools you can use, advice that will inspire you to really create what it is you want in your life. And I walk the talk. I take my own advice. And so you can count on me to be doing the same things I'm telling you to do. Okay? I think that's a pretty good thing. I'm excited to do more book signings this summer. If you haven't checked it out, I wrote a book called Are You Ready to Love Your Job? I will be signing books in Williamsburg, Virginia at the Barnes & Noble on July 2nd from 12 to 3 and at the Barnes & Noble in the Poconos of Pennsylvania at the Wilkes-Barre Barnes & Noble from 3 to 5 on July 23rd. So come see me. My book will also be on sale in the gift shop at the Lodge at Woodlock, which is also in the Pocono Mountains. I'm actually the featured speaker for the weekend of July 7th through 9th. And if you don't know the Lodge at Woodlock, it has been consistently ranked as a top destination spa in the U.S. It's been also ranked in the world. And it's a great place to return to your frequency, which is the focus of this episode. That's right, getting back to you, your truth, your center. I've been seeing a huge desire on the part of many people to return to their own frequencies. And what do I mean by that? Well, to be able to be ourselves, right? Let go of old identities, which includes jobs or careers that no longer fit, right? Or no longer suit us. And, this way we get to come into our own and be the person that we came here to be. That's right. That's about operating from your own frequency. I find that getting into nature and getting away from the daily grind, as they call it, is a great way to get back in touch with that center, that frequency that's your own. And it's not just me saying this. It was really interesting. So I was listening to a webinar recently on HR related issues. And at the end of this particular webinar, they asked all the panelists to say, well, what do you do for self-care? And 2 out of the 3 panelists said the way to self-care was to relax. Actually, all 3 said to relax and be in nature. One liked to sit on her back porch where she has hummingbirds and butterflies. Others had places they traveled that were remote and natural. And they just said, yeah, I get to, just relax and be myself. And you could just see the look on their eyes like, oh. That wonderful, focused but relaxed state of flow, if you've heard of flow, right? That's that frequency. That's what it feels like, right? And when you're having I call them times of ecstatic engagement, when you're getting lost in what you're doing and you feel like your best self and everything's just happening and working out without it being a struggle, that's also you operating at your frequency. And it's a huge indicator of you being in the right type of work. Right? So if you've had those times of ecstatic engagement, they're a clue. And when you travel, oftentimes, anywhere, go on vacation, right? This time of year, a lot of people are going on vacation. I've had so many clients have career epiphanies while they were on vacation. And it hit me. I'm like, because they were operating at their own frequency, right? They were coming down off of work, whatever, high, low, whatever it is, right? But something that was kind of, not their own. And they get on vacation and they're like, oh, I get it. I know exactly what I need to do. And that is amazing to me. That's the power of operating from your own frequency, because you get clarity, right? It's like crystal clear clarity of what it is you want because you're listening to your own frequency. And it also attracts these amazing coincidences, and which further validates that you're at your own frequency. And this happened to so many people that I actually created 2 podcasts about these career coincidences. So I'll put links to those in the show notes if you want to listen into these amazing real life experiences. It's part of being at your own frequency. Now, retirement is also another opportunity to return to our own frequency, right? People leave careers that they've been in for a long time, and what do? They create a second act or a third act. And I just had someone contact me and start to work with me who's been in the particular industry and a particular company for a very long time. And the job paid the bills, but it didn't allow him to fully express himself. And we did a personality pattern assessment, which is something that I do where we get clarity on the person's main personality, their career gifts, as well as what happens when they're stressed so they can figure out ways to rebalance themselves, get back to their frequency. And this person's main personality was really not in alignment with this job. So doing that personality pattern, it was kind of the first step. He's also doing the soul search research and job search process, but it was just so evident why that job, though fulfilling financially, didn't fulfill him otherwise. Or the moments that it did fulfill him, which there were some, right? There had to be some along the way, were the moments that spoke to that part of his personality that really hadn't been getting attention. And now it's front and center for him in this next act, right, of his career, where he's going to be able to make his frequency with his natural personality front and center when he makes job choices and career choices. So it's pretty exciting when you start to think about, wow, I have a frequency, and if I operate from it, I get to align myself better. And we do have fears and doubts. And in this case, it's like, well, can I still make a living? Can I still make money? You know, a lot of times we take jobs because we think, well, I have to do this to make money because I can't get paid to be at my own frequency. And that's not true. That's just a mindset. And you can shift your mindset at any point and start to open your mind to possibilities. And if that's something you're struggling with, that's a career block. And it's natural and normal to have them. I've been helping clients with them for 20 years. So you don't have to just sit there and say, nope, can't do it. Not possible for me. It is possible for you. It's possible for everybody. But if you're having trouble working through it on your own, you don't have to just sit there and struggle, right? There are people who can help, and I'm happy to be one of your entourage. We're also getting wake-up calls all the time, showing us the urgency to return to our frequencies and play our tunes now. You know, don't die with your music still inside you, right? That was something Wayne Dyer used to say. May he rest in peace. And this fits with this whole idea of frequency, that you offer the world a unique frequency that is all your own, part of the symphony of humanity that we get to contribute to. And so don't die with your music still inside you is meant to be that kind of wake-up call to say, hey, it's time now to get to your frequency and to start playing your tune. All right, so to support you today in this episode, in returning to your own frequency, I'm going to share with you a fabulous guest who herself had a pretty difficult wake-up call, and you'll hear her story. You get to realize, wait a second, maybe the way I'm doing things isn't the best for me, for my health, maybe I want to change and become more in line with my own frequency. It's much healthier to operate from that space. So you can reflect right now on your own life and career that you have. And you can ask yourself, does it support me in being in my own frequency? Right? Are you ecstatically engaged in your work? Or are you overworked or unfulfilled or bored or frustrated and feel you need to escape to get back to your own frequency? Right? These are all clues. These are all wake-up calls, right? Chances for you to say, wait, I'm not really able to be who I am. One of my clients said she felt like she had to put on a coat of armor to go to work every day. And it just wasn't her natural personality. So it wasn't her frequency. She had to become something else, or overuse a part of her personality or her style in this environment just to survive. If you're feeling that, hey, yeah, maybe there's something to this that Maggie's saying. Maybe I'm not quite at my own frequency. I need to understand even what that frequency is. I'm not even sure what it looks like or sounds like or feels like. You don't need to figure this out all by yourself. I'm here with you on this podcast. I also have tools and resources and coaching, all ways to help you figure out what is your frequency. Because ultimately, when you live from your own frequency, which is the goal, right? That ideal, that's where I want you to think about it. I want you to raise your expectations that you can have your ideal and you can live from your own frequency. what happens is you start to make decisions in alignment with your frequency, and you create more fun. You create more light in your life. You end up in the right places at the right times. Like these are kind of these magical things. I tell my clients, you're going to start to experience what you'll feel is magic. It's really you being in alignment with your own frequency. Because when you do this, you end up having the right conversations to create opportunities. You basically live easier, right? Without the struggle. You know, I know people say the struggle is real. I'm like, yeah, but that's when you're not in your frequency. The struggle is very real when you're not in your own frequency. In fact, it's very painful. And I think that's because the roadblocks are there to stop you from continuing to act in that direction, because that's not really the path you're meant to be on. Okay. The struggle is a sign you're out of sync. And we say that all the time. I'm out of sync today. I'm not feeling it today, right? We use these words to describe this feeling that, like, when we're in our flow, when we're in our frequency, we know, hey, life is great. But we know when we're out of it too. So take a deep breath. Another great way to get back to your own frequency. And even stop and smell the roses. Get back in alignment with your inner nature, with your frequency. And you're also going to hear today from my guest her story of how she realized things were out of sync for her, and how she created a brand new way of operating in her life that you can benefit from. All kinds of great advice that you're going to hear from Christina Langdon, who's going to be here later today. At the end of the day, though, please know that you have a very important and special stillness and peace inside of you, where the waters are crystal clear. And from that place, you have the confidence to know exactly what is the best use of your time, moment by moment. And you're able to make great decisions in alignment with that. It's my job to help people find this place and stay there. This place of stillness, peace, clarity, and confidence. So in this episode, I want to inspire you to relax into your frequency. Stay tuned for more right here on Making a Living with Maggie. Are you planning your own weekend getaway? Want to enjoy nature, amazing food, spa treatments, yoga, meditation, and great classes from experts like me? Then check out the Lodge at Woodloch. Ranked as a top 10 destination spa in the US and the world by Condé Nast Traveler, the Lodge at Woodloch offers the opportunity to relax, rejuvenate, and recenter in a luxurious setting. If you're in need of inspiration, creativity, serenity, beauty, and personal growth, consider spending some quality time getting back to your own frequency at the Lodge at Woodloch. A link to this amazing destination spa, as well as details of my weekend as featured speaker, will be in the show notes. Christina Langdon is a passionate entrepreneur, author of For Success' Sake, and high-performance success coach to CEOs, founders, and leaders. Welcome, Christina. It's so great to have you here today.
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Maggie.
Well, it's been years. I mean, I think the last time I was doing a seminar for your team, because you're like, come on back, Mag. I think I'd already left Martha, but you thankfully brought me in, which I appreciate. And I think we were talking working smarter, not harder. So you really took that advice to heart.
You taught me a lot, Maggie.
Yeah. Well, you're here to teach us a lot, which is wonderful. I can't wait to hear more about your perspective. I'm so inspired following you on social media. Let me let people in on who you are. And I can't believe after 30 years, which you look fabulous. But after 30 years of leading sales and marketing teams at media brands, including Martha Stewart Living Omni Media, which is where we met, as well as Fast Company, you now help leaders and businesses achieve more than they thought possible. So tell us about that. That's something my listeners want to know how to do as well.
We had a lot to talk about here. There's a lot. It's a very meaty topic. So thanks for having me again. I do work with high achievers, and high achievers by definition are driven, and oftentimes it can lead to burnout. Mm-hmm. They're driven in doing all the things, and sometimes they lose clarity of what and how they are achieving. Sometimes they get lost in the calendar and lose sight of their vision. So I work with high achievers to help them achieve more of what they want and to let go of the work that is no longer serving them. I help
That's
them.
probably not easy.
It's not.
Or maybe really easy, depending on how you look at it.
Well, it takes some work. It really takes really defining what you want and defining what you no longer work, and then figuring out systems and processes and support systems that you may need. And it doesn't happen in one day, of course. I work with people to really include super think time in their weeks, so they're thinking
super think time.
Yeah,
tell us about that.
I put 4 hours, 2 hours on Tuesday, 2 hours on Thursday. It's my super think time. And it's the time that I think about the future I'm creating, the legacy I want to have, the significance I want to bring to my work and to my future. And at working with a coach, I'm like a thinking partner with my clients, and I help them to slow down, to spend that time to help them see the future that they want to create, so then they can decide ahead of time who they're becoming.
I love that.
Yeah, it's really about helping them develop their self-concept as a leader. Defined, it's decided ahead of time, and then you create a plan to get there. We are on the hamster wheel every day, doing. Our calendar is full. Our calendar kind of is leading us. We're not leading the calendar. So it's really about slowing down and spending time to get decided ahead of time.
What keeps leaders and business owners from really reaching their full potential, Christina? What have you seen get in their way?
Well, I read a study about success. The Cambridge Institute of Technology did some research to find out what is the components of success. And they said it was environment, skill, and psychology. And psychology is really mindset. And then when you look deeper into the research, it said that 85% of a person's success is driven by their mindset. So think about it. When we're on that hamster wheel running every single day, we are probably having a mind that is probably a little bit out of control. Because the most common theme I see with my clients, they're accomplished, they're successful, they're interesting, they're powerful people, but they all kind of have the same things in common. They lack confidence at times. They compare and despair with others. They have cycles of imposter syndrome, shame and blame themselves. They feel like they're never doing enough, or there never is enough time. And those are all mindset issues. I kind of call it like the messy mind. And this is when the who you want to be as a leader becomes unclear and unfocused. And how that shows up, that unclear and unfocused, is like a calendar that's out of control. You're doing hard work. You're working hard, but you're not really doing the hard work. You're getting distracted. Guess what? That to-do list just gets longer. Right. So when your mind is leading from the leader's chair, from the CEO's chair, because we're all the sort of CEO of me, when you're leading from your vision and your plan, and you are minding your mind while you're doing it, you show up calmer, less distracted. You show up more intentional, clear, decisive. And guess what? You recover much faster when you get, hit with a detour or a fire drill. And that's when change happens, not from the crazy, never-ending to-do list driven by the thoughts that you're behind, you're busy, and you're hustling to grow. And I would say, there's no balance, right? The work-life balance. There really is no balance, but you can make it more in balance to the degree that you can. I think that leaders that achieve their highest potential, they're intentional, they're deliberate, and they're consistent with managing what they want. And it's really about that super think time, slowing down to say, how do I want to be intentional, deliberate, and consistent next week to achieve what I want? We got to kind of let go of the negative thoughts, see them for what they are, and then bring in the thoughts that we want to create the outcomes that we want.
Yeah, it really all ties together. So is that the formula, or is there another formula you found that really works for people? And do you have a success story with that?
Well, I think everybody's formula is going to be different, but if you slow down and become a little bit more intentional by what you're trying to create for yourself and your future, that's the best place to start. I worked with one company and still work with them, and I've helped them in about 3 years increase their valuation 5 times.
Wow.
I know they did.
That's a success story.
They've done the hard work. It's a women's health company. And the doctor who founded the company actively practiced medicine when we started working together. And to scale her company and lead from her vision, this magical vision she had, she really needed the plan to get her out of the daily practice of medicine. Think about the hamster wheel too here, to work on building the brand and the proprietary research and the medical algorithms, which ultimately drove her 5x in valuation in just 3 years. What changed the most was her mindset, from a doctor who serves patients to a CEO in service of her company's mission. And as our coach, we created awareness, acceptance, permission. Permission's a big one there, and deserving, and feeling like you can deserve 5x valuation in 3 years. And we created an action plan to get there. She decided ahead of time who she wanted to become. And from there, began showing up as a future leader and making decisions from that future desire.
Now, you've got your own success story, I'm happy to report. After a diagnosis of AML leukemia in 2019, you say that you decided to let go of the debilitating should have, would have, and could haves, that kind of mindset, and started owning your own success and you're with your own vision for living, and I love this, an extraordinary life. So you're really going for it, which I think is great. Yeah. So how hard was that for you, Christina, and what steps did you take?
You know, I felt like I was perfect on paper and perfectly miserable. You know, I've had all of these titles and worked for these great companies, but like I had the whispers and the gnawing that something wasn't quite right. And when you ask me, like, if it was hard, it was hard. And it took me 30 years to decide to change. That shoulda, woulda, coulda running around my head. It was like squirrels running around inside my head. It had this sort of weird spiral of shame. And it was my messy mind was really at work. I needed to do the hard work on my mindset. I needed to recognize that my mind was what was holding me back. I needed to build belief in myself and believe that taking a different path towards my passion was okay, even if I missed the mark. You know, we're not really taught to believe in ourselves or trust ourselves. And, you know, when you're hit with the diagnosis of cancer, you really have a lot of time to think. And I kind of talk about my treatment. It was about 12 months. And I talk about it as being sort of that, instead of PSD, it was like post-traumatic growth syndrome. I grew a lot because I got the time to slow down to really get decided. And I wrote the book for success sake from the thought that I don't want other people to have a health crisis or get burnt out before they decide, my happiness, my success, my fulfillment is really something I don't have and I want to create for myself. So I defined success for myself. That was part of it. Like, what is success? And after doing some work, for me, it's the feeling of success full. Full is Full, full of ease, joy, and impact. And while I defined it, I created that mission for an extraordinary success because I do think you have to go big. I work on it every day. It doesn't mean that every day is not hard. It just means that more days are more joyful than before.
Well, it shows. And your book, For Success Sake, I'll put the link in the show notes. It's available on Amazon and it offers lots of great success advice. And I loved your opening quote. You say, the most influential person in your life is you. And when you recognize your influence over you, it's a game changer. So how can we become our own biggest influencer and change the game we're playing for the better, Christina?
So we've heard of the term influencer. There are influencers on social media. And when I think about that, like for me, I am no longer looking for outside validation. I'm no longer looking for permission from someone or something to do what I want to do. And I'm no longer following others' paths. I've decided I'm going to create my path, right or wrong. I'll find my way. Success is not something that's like somewhere out there. It really is an inside job. Now, when I'm uncertain or unclear, I don't have the answers, I look inside myself for the answer. And that's not to say that I don't do research or ask for help or feedback, but ultimately I look at what I've already achieved and what I know I can achieve to influence where I'm going. Steve Jobs had this great quote. At the Stanford commencement address he gave many years ago, he said, "You can't connect the dots going forward. You can only connect them going backward." So I tell clients when they're off course to go back to mind their past for their answers to their future. What lit them up? When were they at their best? Who were they surrounded by? What were they doing? What did they learn about themselves? Knowing that will likely help you see that kind of red thread that you can pull forward to your future.
I love those times of ecstatic engagement.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I often say, because I know you talk a lot about career and career development, I would also say that job titles don't make an impact. The people behind them do. And we think about careers, I would say career paths in the right direction are only right if you are happy, if you're growing, and if you are in service of others.
I think a lot of people would change their careers if they really use that definition.
And I think also thinking about, you have to teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. And some of that negative, messy mind I was talking about is one way we don't treat ourselves very well. So we've got to think about, how do we want to treat ourselves? How do we want to stop breaking promises to ourselves? Because if we don't break promises to ourselves, it's likely people will see that and they're not going to break promises to themselves or to us any longer.
I love that. That's a really good one. Where can people find out more about you, Christina?
So the newsletter, you can subscribe to my newsletter on my website, ChristinaLangdon.com. It comes out on Sunday morning, 6 a.m. And I started writing it about 4 years ago in pursuit of beating the Sunday scaries, which is sort of people get anxious before the week ahead. So I want to give them thinking each week about how they can take on the work week ahead and look forward to it. You can find me on Instagram at Christina Langdon Boss Lady. And then, of course, you can find me on LinkedIn.
I'm so happy that you're happy and healthy and doing such great work. Thank you so much.
And thank you for having me. It's been really a gift to be here.
Now that we've heard from Christina, it's time for your career tip. This one is about changing what you don't like to what you do like. Many of my clients focus on the negatives. We all have our lists of what we don't like about our jobs. Did you ever say, "I hate my commute," or "I am underpaid"? Well, these issues can actually be a very helpful way to discover and document the elements of your ideal career. Here's how to change what you don't like and start to understand what you do like. Listen to your complaints. That's right, write them down. Grab a pen and journal and just list all your complaints about your current position. This should be easy and fun. You can even talk it into your phone. List everything you don't like about your current job. Everything. This is your list, so don't worry about anyone else reading it. Here are some examples to get you started. My commute is too long. I don't want to travel so far to work. My raise was terrible. I'm not appreciated by my firm. They are lucky to have me at this firm. I keep the department running. My colleagues don't collaborate. I don't want to work alone. Now, rewrite each complaint into a want. Transform the negatives into positives. And be specific, too. The new list is the start of the elements of your ideal career. Here's how I might rewrite the examples from above. I want a short commute. I want to travel less than 30 minutes to work. I want to be paid market value for my job. I want a salary of $90,000 or more. I want to work in a company where recognition is given. I want my employer to provide awards, perks, and bonus pay. I want to work with a team of respectful and intelligent people every day. Most rarely focus on what they want, but rather stay focused on what was broken in their careers. Unfortunately, what we focus on is what we get more of. Yes, it can be that powerful. So let's change our thoughts. Your very complaints can actually unlock a greater understanding about what you want in your ideal career. To hear more tips like this, check out previous episodes of Making a Living with Maggie and purchase my book, Are You Ready to Love Your Job? Make a Great Living Through Soul Search, Research, and Job Search. Available on Amazon, where it's ranked as a #1 new release in job search. run out of time. Thanks for joining. I'll be back next month. Here's a quote to keep you inspired from Leonard Jacobson. As you transition from the past and future world of the mind to the awakened world of the now, you will begin to experience yourself in an entirely new way. A way that is free of the pain and limitations of the past and free of anxiety about the future. And you will begin to experience the abundance that is ever present in each moment. Thanks for listening. I'm Maggie Mistel, your career coach, inspiring you to make a great living.
To understand more about how Maggie can help with your individual career needs and goals, contact her at MaggieMistel.com or Facebook.com/MakingALivingWithMaggieMistel. Together, we can all make a great living. Great living.